Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest narration of the web series There Is No Epic Lucha, Only Puns. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed down below in the description. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 172, Beta Hurry. Oh, a YM tree. Did you know there's a legend about these trees? That when the world tree is afflicted with sickness, these trees appeared around the world near tragedy. The most popular myth was a woman who was born with the name YM, who waited for her lost love. Yachina told Alpha and Kui. The spider boy raised his hands and backed away as the mist shifted in the room. It said the woman was a gentle maiden who appeared as a head of priestess of the world tree itself, but she vanished, presumably taken by the sickness that hit the world tree. Or perhaps she could be an allegory for fledgling innocent or new love, Yatina said as she tapped her glass eye. The mist thinned, and the three came into sharp focus. Actually, I did wait. I could appear as human. I did love, and he was mortal. I was sick, and I didn't get better, YM said slowly, and Alpha didn't exactly tense his shoulders, but the grip on his sword tightened. YM wasn't a bad monster, per se, but she had an odd temper that could be triggered by the most innocent of comments. Yatina seemed to stare up into the beautiful face of YM with wide eyes. "You're alive," Yatina said, then cleared her throat. Of course you are. You're a magic tree of legend. You have more power in one leaf than I do my entire body," she said, muttering furiously to herself. YM looked away, deciding Yatina wasn't too interesting. "Don't take it personally. All YM trees are me, but they'll never be me. That imposter was clever. I escaped, but he all but ensured that I'd never grow to my full might again. It's only due to this luck of some goblins that I came to be planted here." She purred and then looked over at Kui. "My little star, you've not come to dance for me in some time," she said, sounding hurt. Kui grinned. "I've finally gotten to be a god. People can skip to the second floor and not bother Sir Fran all the time," he explained, and YM let out a throaty chuckle that reminded Alpha of a smoky barroom with a rich scent of whiskey. "And that's the best thing, truly. Still, I see you're stuck being a tour guide," YM said, and Yatina hadn't said anything. She looked stunned. "Are you okay?" Alpha asked, stepping closer, and she turned slowly to look at him. "The world tree is an imposter?" she asked, and Alpha shrugged. "Most likely," he said, and Yatina's face turned pale, and he tried not to wince as the party bond shared a deep flash of horror and some fear. "Isn't that common knowledge?" Alpha asked, and he stepped back as Yatina's voice raised in volume. "No, we know that the tree used to be welcoming and have a famous town called Small Joy surrounding it, but about 150 years ago," Yatina said, and then YM interjected. 154, if you want to be precise, sweet thing, she said as Kui twirled for her on a rock. 54 years ago, the tree suddenly became violently sick, and the town around became shut off. No one could get close, and then the tree attacked whoever got close. We presumed that it just learned too much of humanity and grew disgusted by us or blamed us for the sickness," Yatina said, looking like she wanted a dozen empty notebooks right about now. "Oh, I sort of was disgusted by you all, in a friendly way. You all walk around with functional acid factories in your trunks and are slushy," YM chimed in again. Yatina nodded firmly. "The human body is a necessary evil that I only tolerate to hold books and have a working brain," she agreed without hesitation. She frowned and looked ponderous at something. "I read something about the world tree, the fake tree, in a report recently. What was it about?" she asked, and Alpha waited patiently. Yatina snapped her fingers as she remembered. "He gained a legendary ranked monster that lives in its branches. The monster has been seen all over the world, carrying out all sorts of strange activities. The monster appeared about 10 years ago, and it's messed with fair play a few times," she explained. Delta's avatar looked down and whispered something that made Alpha's skin prickle unpleasantly. "Beta. It's a shapeshifter, I think, but all its forms share the same symbol on its neck. People speculate it's half a tree, but, Yatina trailed off, and YM's smile grew as the woman seemed to recall something. "Alpha, why's the monster symbol on Delta's front door?" she asked with an odd tone. Delta and Alpha shared a look. "The symbols on the door stand for Alpha, Beta, Delta, and Gamma. I'm Alpha. You know Delta." Alpha trailed off as the woman stared at him. A few seconds passed. "I think you broke the poor thing," Biome said with a tutting noise as she waved a branch in front of Yatina's face. Yatina suddenly took Alpha by the shoulders, her grip surprisingly tight. "Never repeat that name," she stressed, and Alpha blinked, confused at the woman suddenly looking very nervously around. "What, Beta?" Kui asked, scuttling over as well as glaring at how she manhandled Alpha. "No, the last one," Yatina said and swallowed hard. "Gam," Alpha said, and she covered his mouth. "Don't, it's a cursed word," she said in panic. There was a long pause. "Gamma? Sounds like a weird name. This Gamma. Gamma, you say? I would like to know more about this Gamma," Biome announced, and Yatina covered her ears as if trying not to hear it. "Whoa," Delta said suddenly, and Alpha could feel it too. Due to his new title as Archmage, he had gained a very potent ability sensing skill, and he could feel what could only be described as dozens of eyes trying to settle on the dungeon, but not quite finding it. "People are tracking their name. Everyone knows the Kingmaker sword," Yatina said quickly, trying to crouch low to avoid something. "If you say the name and they find you, you're marked until they come for you. The sword collectors, royal wannabes, 4th or 6th in the Lion Throne aura." She trailed off, making a deep gulp for actual concern. "The calculators." The lone island that sat between two edges of the world looked benign from high above, but from the clouds a rapid shadow darted to the edge of the island, a mix between a falcon and a snake. The form shifted until the stoic-looking teen girl stood where the monster had, a symbol on her neck, glowing before going inert. She looked around as her clothes consisted of tough leathers that she had roughly sewn together of different beasts. The island gave her the creeps. "Barkface is really reaching with this one," she sighed, and she looked around for any signs of trouble. Ever since the strange dungeon and he attacked the tree, the old man had been working her arse off overtime. Beta was beginning to think the old tree wasn't telling her something, but Beta accepted that was a thing a long time ago. Likely, Treebeard did one of his stupid schemes and pissed them off, but that wasn't Beta's concern. But if brother reacted, then they must be doing something right. She didn't care for the eyes or the tree's desire to have it. She just wanted to get revenge on those gods. The feeling of being made whole was still fresh in her mind. Horrible flesh bubbling pain, bones snapping and reforming, muscles being woven inch by inch, organs built, then melted to be redone. Beta remembered it all. The damn girl had the cheek to tell her that they had done much better with Beta than Gamma. She mentally shuddered. She didn't want to think of what that poor bastard might have experienced being made if her formation was better. She walked forward on the island that was drowning in cloying dungeon manna. What sort of place needed 5 dungeons in one close space? She inhaled, and the manna was easily converted into energy for her, as if her body had been made to live inside a dungeon with ease. If she was, she would burn them all to the ground rather than be obedient pet for the gods and their little murder holes. Everywhere she looked, their screw-ups were clear between the rampant other gods, dungeons, monsters, and cults and more. It was... Beta didn't know for sure, but she had a feeling that before was better. Before had someone smiling at her, people she didn't want to punch, a smiling teacher. She winced when her flesh rippled, and for a split second she saw vines and leaves emerging from her hands and fingers, so like Yggdrasil. How did it get there? Her veins seemed to bulge as they expanded towards her neck, and then her head, and then green. When did... the cults, and more seriously, screw them, Beta scowled, and she rotated her shoulders as if it was stiff. She just wanted to get this job done already. She walked deeper into the island and came to a stop as all her senses started screaming at her that she was not alone. Beta had gathered quite a selection of monster forms in the 2 years since she had been here. Sometimes she found forms that she had no clue about getting and chalked it up to the gods in their system that they kept trying to make her use. She wanted to at least check it out, but she never found the time. She found the idea appalling. Beta would not open that system. She would not. That was final. She had found Yigi a year ago, and time just seemed to fly by when she was doing his jobs. He always insisted that she rest before taking another mission. Beta was getting real tired of him trying to cozy in on her time. Where would she even sleep for longer than a day? Small Joy? Psh, that place was a ruin. But where did you get the clothes, the food you eat, the conversations of the world? Some insidious part of her asked. Yggdrasil. Everything she had was because of Yggdrasil. Movement all around her revealed themselves to be ducks, dozens of black ducks with red eyes. A lot watched her as she slowly moved forward to a clearing, where a massive hole in the middle of the island seemed to vanish into complete darkness. This was what old Treebeard wanted, for Beta to see if there was quicker access to the eye through the hole on Funeral Island. One of the ducks was close. Consume, grow. Perfect. The beast lunged for it, arms splitting into dozens of claws, but the duck was strangely powerful, knocking her to the side as a flock surrounded her. She was in danger. Consume. She would kill them. Beta raised her arm to strike when something very strange occurred. The system opened up on its own, and her mind tried to rebel, but she couldn't look away. Well, welcome, Beta, to Delta Sun 0.5. You have 99 plus messages. You have to remember, you need to escape. Beta's mind, her body, her soul was trying to split in two. Something inside her was trying to pull her apart. Error. Infection is at 95%. This will not be enough. Make it stop, Beta screamed as she clutched her head. Solution to a Delta move. If the parasite is using ambient mana to keep control, you will be sent somewhere where only Delta mana will be available and not Yggdrasil's. Beta could barely read, let alone understand the message. With permission of Prince Waddles, the seal to the demon world will open. Enjoy your trip. Beta turned slowly to see a puffy black duck raise one webbed foot, and then she was tumbling down a dark tunnel on the island. Find Delta. Her mana has not been idle since going to the demon world, and, I'm so sorry I was a terrible god. I'll make it up to you, even if it cost me my life. Beta felt oddly strange as she fell into a dark, ruinous world, crashing into a crystal-clear pond filled with black ducks with pure white duck chicks. Only when she was nearing the bottom of the pond did she understand that they were swimming in a near pure salt water mix with something akin to vinegar. She breached the surface, clinging to a rock that jutted out of the pond, coughing and spluttering as she failed to transform. The mana far too loose and free-flowing around her to complete the task. Ahead of her, made of what looked like the largest duck that she had ever seen, sitting on a throne of human teeth. Where am I? She demanded, and the duck quacked. There was a long pause. I don't speak duck, she said, gritting her teeth as the stinging water burned her skin slightly. There was some movement, and the ducks brought someone out. It was like a human tongue grew legs and had a foul attitude about it. What the hell do you want? Beta snarled, her fear feeding into her anger. I'm a demon tongue, ain't I? I just speak tongues, the demon snapped. The big duck quacked again. His Royalness, the Duke of Wrath, the Duck of Wrath, says that you are here under invitation of his son, and will be free to leave once you are purged of the ancient foulness clinging to your sad sack organs and shriveled brain. The tongue said with a nasty tone. It said that, with one quack, Beta said, doubt leaking off every word. I paraphrased for our benefit, the tongue said with a deliberate slowness. I don't, but... No, I need to go. This place is making me feel weak, she said, wading towards the shore and trying not to step on what looked to be thousands of eggs stretching as far as the eye could see. The moment she left the hellish water, she began to have trouble breathing. His darkness should mention that the pond has been only source of flat world mana around for some time. Since you no longer have a base form and cannot devour demons, you cannot breathe in the demon world, the tongue explained. I have a human form. This is my human form, she protested, trying to get her legs under her. No, it looks like what your form might have been, but it's just that, an imitation of shifted flesh. You no longer remember who you are, according to the Sun Sister, and thus you can no longer transform into that form. The annoying tongue went on. They took my memories from me, Beta wheezed, crawling on hands and knees. She was afraid that she might kill the eggs, but they were harder than diamonds under her touch. Truly, my heart bleeds for you, but you will now be enjoying the purging of your body in a few minutes. How do you feel about leather or rope? The tongue asked, translating more quacks from the large duck. What? She asked, looking back. The Duke held up 2 straps of material for Beta to bite down on. The Duke suggests the leather, less threads in one's teeth. The tongue smirked. I don't consent to this. I reject this. Beta tried to crawl way faster. Quack. There was no need for the tongue to translate that. Beta could almost hear the words in her head. Bite down hard. This is going to be rough. Delta watched as Yutina nervously opened the door down the hallway to the left of the map room. She was nervous and a little shy as Yutina marveled at the third floor. It's pretty in here, Yutina admitted, before Delta focused on soft lamps around the library turning on, revealing rows of books. There was a soft gasp as Yutina took a few steps forward, then stopped. May I? She stumbled over her words. Delta focused and pulled all her power into a single word. Yes, she said, and the word breezed through the room, and Yutina's eyes turned wide. Was that her? She asked Alpha, who nodded, shooting Delta an impressed look. Delta was too busy leaning over, panting, as if she just ran a damn marathon. How could she create a whole host of creatures and magic enchantments where projecting her own voice was this hard? Was it like trying to speak, but only inside one's kidney? So many books. Goosebumps, Yutina asked with wonder, picking up a book with a ghostly white bird on the front before she quickly moved on. I've never seen so many books, even in a specialist store. You have a mix of rare tomes, unique stories, and children's books. I could spend months here, Yutina gushed as she pulled out a copy of Short Stories and Less, containing only 3 sentences on the first page, and the other 100 pages were blank. She opened the book of 100 soup recipes with lickable pages, the in-depth study of studies, death, villain, or hopeless romantic, and she even grabbed a copy of Optics, a light reading. Alpha, Kui, join me, books are friendship, Yutina insisted excitedly, as she sat in some sort of sealed bag with squishy beans. I thought that was people, Alpha asked, confused. Kui strutted past. Books, people, they both spread their contents for me, he said, and Alpha looked at him. It's because I'm going to be a rock star, and supposedly people open up to them, like therapists, Kui explained excitedly. Therapists, never liked them. They want to talk about my past, my pain, my injuries, my inability to sleep for longer than 3 hours, Yutina muttered. Isn't that to help you get better? Alpha asked slowly. Help, smelp. Science and being right all the time is how I feel. She winked with a good eye and went back to tasting the soup book. A book slid out near Alpha titled How to Spot and Help Troubled Individuals by Siri Inc. for him to grab. Maybe you can, tell me about your issues? Alpha tried and pushed the book back on the shelf. Yutina gave him a long look before smiling and placating look. I'm fine, she said, and buried herself deeper into her book. Alpha frowned, and then looked down at his feet, trying to figure out how to be empathetic, or even sound concerned. He didn't mean to come off as if he'd rather not talk to people. He just, spoke like that. A second book slid out towards Alpha. Neurodivergence. It's okay to be different. Thanks, he sighed, taking the book to join Yutina. They both jumped as Kui slammed down what seemed to be a 20-series book collection of Caramel Rider, a delicious hero. This place is great. I should have visited ages ago, he said brightly. On top of those, he had a music book, stage performances, and signed book of Maestro's autobiography. It was a very thick book, in spite of Maestro's actual lifespan thus far. Delta watched them all talk and chat, all while knowing who was watching them from the shadows. Jack, you can join in, Delta said to the watching kobold. Shh! I can't let myself be known until I know her levels of acceptance to the good word of death, Jack hissed back. Barely heard by anyone but Delta. You mean, cheap romance novels? Delta summed up. The cheaper, the better, Jack nodded seriously. Yutina, what do you think of mouse-touching and wiggly wooing? Kui asked, having superior hearing. Is setting myself on fire an option? She responded without looking up from her book. Jack narrowed his eyes and looked ready to retreat. I like the chase, the idea, the sort of dancing around, and the learning. I love people connecting, but I skip past the wiggly wooing, she said, smiling at the phrase. Are you reading an age-appropriate book? She asked suddenly, eyes narrowed. Kui held up a cover of some chocolate-themed hero kicking sour sweet in his face. I think so, he promised. Jack had turned, going through a series of shelves. Ogre on Dryad, mermaid in love with horse. Woman in love with magic mirror, doomed to never touch, but see each for whom they are inside. I can convert her. Jack pumped his fist and nearly knocked the shelf over with his excitement. Delta took a look. It says in Book 4 the magic mirror can astral project into her dreams, she pointed out, and Jack took Book 4 to 22 and hid them behind a series of books called Filler, the encyclopedias of taking up space. Every religion has some white lies, Jack shrugged. How wonderful. Where's Wallace? A puzzle book. And look, Alpha, a companion book on feelings called How is Wallace? Yatina's voice drifted out from them. Do you want to read about feelings? Alpha offered. No time. I have a book here about the 10 functions of a goblin liver. I didn't even know there was just one use for them, Yatina said excitedly. Delta was beginning to think Yatina had a small issue about discussing her feelings. Before she drank from the mana well, Yatina might need to discuss her feelings to smooth out the process. A working seed contained thoughts and echoes of a person. If Yatina was to grow one from the well and have all these issues bubbling inside her, she might crack. But who did she have to specialize in? Luna, she said, standing up with purpose. But Yatina didn't seem the type to publicly bathe. 10 minutes passed and Luna walked into the library with a bundle of items, her usually elegant form looking heavy, and she puffed with effort to keep walking. Delta winced. Sorry, she said, and Luna shook her head. It's only 1 floor. I am not going down to the 4th floor. I might drown in mana, she muttered. She unpacked a selection of herbs and incense burner. Nearby, Yatina was watching the frog ninja, engrossed in the process. So we'll be sharing a group vision quest to deal with the issues of our past, and by doing that, I can see a rare mana spring that the dungeon wants me to test. Yatina sounded both terrified and extremely happy at the idea. You don't have to. There's no rush, and you can always come back, Alpha said, and Yatina blinked, then rubbed his head with a small smile. I'll likely be punished to hell and back for this little trip. Likely I won't be coming back for a long time, she admitted, and Delta wouldn't count on it. She had a way of making sure people left this dungeon better than they entered. Well, unless they were the majority of fair play, that was on them. As Luna was setting up, something bizarre entered her dungeon, a sort of fake life force that repelled her mana with unnatural ease. She teleported to her entrance to see 5 spindly marionettes of sorts moving over the ground. Delta stared at them, and then took a step back. Oh God, she said, covering her mouth. The dolls, the robots really, were complex beings with mana systems that drew power from shards deep within their bodies. Each shard spoke in a near, never-ending stream of words. Grow the blades, sharpen the dolls, grow the blades, sharpen the dolls. Snow on the hill, snow on the hill, snow on the hill. Create a new boss, create a new boss, create a new boss. Each was a fractured but unique voice that spoke of a badly recorded audio tape. Dungeons? They're using dead dungeons like batteries, Delta whispered, back against the wall in sheer horror. One of them turned to her, and before Delta could follow what was happening, it plunged a blade at her, cutting her avatar along the arm. She stared at the fizzling wound, and her avatar flash of pain looped back to her. Each of their weapons were made of dungeon mana, opposing dungeon mana. These things were like human-sized dead dungeons being controlled from afar. Delta moved back into the tunnel and eyed them with deep sorrow. I'll end this, she promised them as their bubbling picked up in tone and volume. Danger level max, she intoned, and the entire dungeon shuddered. The once cheery flickering orange torchlights turned to a deep ominous red. Delta's eyes dropped, a single tear in combination of sorrow and pain of her wound. Stage 6. You made Delta cry activated. Error. Stage 7. Released. You broke Delta's heart. Outside, Rudy gripped her hands into a fist and held up her arm, stopping any more of these junk robots from going in. Delta's entrance now had a dark, hazy white mist over it, not quite preventing entrance, but there was a deep rage and sadness coming from it. Rudy didn't need to hear it for herself to know whatever was up with the robots. It wasn't good. She couldn't prevent them from entering, but she could slow them down. You better hope she's okay, she warned the nearby Kayleen, who ignored her. These are about the test models, the first batch. If she cannot handle these, then the dungeon's fabled strength isn't as much as I'd feared. He shrugged. Rudy opened her mouth, but then noticed that the forest all around Delta, usually so vibrant and filled with life, had gone silent, as if the world was holding its breath. She shifted, and the row of hero dolls toppled over like dominoes. Oops, she said without shame. Cute, but it won't matter, he said as he ordered his men to pick them up. You prevent me from entering, and your friend Quiz is honor bound to enact the law in my favor, he reminded, and Rudy narrowed her eyes at him. I've bent him over crying before, and I'll do it again, she said, and this made Kayleen frown in confusion. You have fought him before? He asked for clarification, and really smirked. Oh, in a manner of speaking. But you think Delta's got shit endurance? She asked, and Kayleen rolled his eyes. She has 4 flaws at most. Of course she has bad endurance. He froze and grabbed his rear and made a face of pain. I didn't talk about the town, he gasped as he turned to waddle away. She's part of the town, you butt waffle, Ruli muttered. She turned back to the misty door and then drew a line in the soil before her with a large sword, magma. Cross it and I'll break a random thing that sticks out of your body, she warned the rest. Isn't that stopping us from going in? A fair play man asked. Nope, you could go in, but you'll be in a lot of pain while you do so, Ruli said easily, sitting on a small wooden stool with glowing yellow eyes. No one crossed the line. It was all Ruli could do for a friend right now, and it didn't feel like it was enough. End of chapter. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps, Vitmori, Terran on Air, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Red Panda 121, Leslie 517, Bushmaster 177, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Lightsjock, Dragzoon WRE, Lord Azrakal, and Arcadian. Thank you.